Welcome back. You're watching France 24. It's time for Media Watch now, our daily look at the top stories making news in the French media. James Creedon is on set with us.
Good evening, Lana.
With all that. Hi, James. And we start with the big story of the day here in France, and that's, of course, the investigation being opened into Christine Lagarde's past.
That's right. And one name coming up an awful lot, which a lot of people means nothing to a lot of people, that's Bernard Tapie. Bernard Tapie.
But it's a name that's very well known here
Very well known in
France.
France. And we actually have some pictures here. He's not just a big businessman, he's also a singer. And
he did everything. He was...
Do we have some music? Do we have some sound for this? This is from 1985, Réussir sa vie.
He was also the boss of Marseille Football Club.
Right.
He had several lives, that man.
This is to succeed in life. And look at this cheesy 1980s music. It's just extraordinary. Oh my God, it's terrible. But anyway, he's not just known for that.
Good, right?
He's also extremely wealthy. Was at one point the owner of Adidas, the clothing company. And a case emerged from that buying up of Adidas against a French bank, Crédit Lyonnais. And if we have a look at Rue 89, they're now explaining that case is coming back to haunt not Bernard Tapie, but Christine Lagarde. Now, she was the finance minister in 2007, 2008, when it was decided that this ongoing dispute between Crédit Lyonnais and Bernard Tapie was to be resolved out of court. Now, it was a dispute that went back some 18 years, and it was thought before Sarkozy came into power and before this arbitration out of court was set up, that maybe Tapie would get something like 40 to 50 million from Crédit Lyonnais, who he accused of having defrauded him in the dealings.
Up Adidas.
Exactly. Now, in fact, in that out-of-court settlement set up by Christine Lagarde as finance minister, he was awarded some 280 million euros, a massive sum of money. Now, no matter what the outcome of this current case, which has been set up to investigate Christine Lagarde's decision to set up an arbitration out of court, no matter what the outcome of that, he's still going to keep the money. So he has réussi sa vie, if you like.
Fair and square.
He's done pretty well out of this. But it's bad news for, as Rue 89 says, it's now what was known as the Tapie scandal is now the Christine Lagarde scandal.
And she's really one of the stars, the rising stars of French politics, wasn't she? From an excellent finance minister who was admired by all those who worked with her to now head of IMF.
Right, seen as well able to work with outsiders, other European countries and the Americans, seen as having a very accessible style, which wouldn't always be the case for French
She was on the Daily Show.
Right, amazing.
She speaks excellent English.
Fluent English, exactly. Now, the thing is, Bernard Tapie supported Nicolas Sarkozy in his 2007 election when he had typically been a supporter of Mitterrand on the left. So the question is, did Sarkozy in some way arrange for this to happen, which put a lot of money in Tapie's pockets? So there was a private meeting at the Elysee back in 2008. That's being dragged out now of the archives. And I suppose just quickly to finish on this element, Mediapart, which is a left-leaning website here, one of their journalists who's been on this case for years, since 2008, who wrote a book called Sous le tapis, which is a play on words meaning brushed under the carpet. Now, he said that when Christine Lagarde was going for that IMF job, he asked these questions, what about this Tapie scandal? And he said he felt so alone. He felt like he was the only French journalist asking this most pertinent of questions. And now he feels somewhat vindicated about this. And today on Mediapart, he called for her to stand down.
That's very
so there you
aggressive.
go. We'll see where this one goes.
But indeed, the case is coming back to haunt her.
Right.
Moving on to another political scandal, a sex scandal, in fact, rather than a political one. The Script France. Christine Lagarde's predecessor at the IMF.
Quite the record.
Dominique Strauss-Kahn.
That's right. Now, the latest there, just to kind of give the latest on that, Kenneth Thompson, rather, the lawyer for Nafissatou Diallo, he is apparently doing everything he can to find witnesses. He's trawling through every possible woman who could come forward with the story about Dominique Strauss-Kahn. His latest attempt, and we read this in Le Parisien, was he made an appeal to Air France air stewards, because there was a rumour, in fact, I insist upon the fact that it's a rumour that only male air stewards were put into first class when Dominique Strauss-Kahn would fly with Air France. Now, Air France has denied that rumour, but Kenneth Thompson made an appeal, a public appeal to Air France staff, come forward if, you have a story to tell us. Now, this is still getting massive coverage in the French papers. Let's have a look at Paris Match. You can see here in Paris Match that they have a double-page photo of of Dominique Strauss-Kahn, keeping a very low profile in New York, according to them. Now, Paris Match, very good for photojournalism. They're contrasting that with Nafissatou Diallo.
A very different setup there.
Absolutely, speaking very publicly to the media, speaking to a media scrum there.
And we can see Ken Thompson looking on. He's really had a very aggressive strategy in that regard, doing all he can, of course.
Very public indeed, up there on the stage with Nafissatou Diallo. Now, he's on the front page also of a satirical magazine this week. This is pretty extraordinary stuff. The 600,000 mistresses of Dominique Strauss-Kahn speak out. And you can see on the front page there, well, I mean, it's more who are they than what are they saying. You've got a goat, you've got a little chicken, you've got Betty Boo, an inflatable doll. I mean, it's pretty salacious stuff. And untrue, we hasten to add, of course. It's, you know, it's just purely satirical.
And on that little, we need to add what's said in that little bubble. All of these supposed mistresses
he's very gentle. Right, which is the whole, I suppose that's one of the central questions. There's also a teddy bear in there. I just want to point that out.
It is a pretty incredible drawing there, caricature. We have just enough time for one last story. The last pink triangle has passed away. Tell us more about who he was.
Right, the pink triangles, of course, were set up under Nazi rule to stigmatize and to identify homosexuals under Nazi rule. Now, they were sent to concentration camps along with the Jewish populations and, of course, others. Now, the very last one has passed away in France. His name was Rudolf Brazda. He was sent to Buchenwald camp during the war. He spent 32 months there. Now, what's extraordinary is he lived out the rest of his life in France. He gained citizenship in 1960, but it was only in 2008 that he actually went public with the fact that he had been a so-called pink triangle. This is at the time that Berlin in Germany set up a monument erected to homosexual victims of Nazism. At that point, those close to him pushed him to go public on this. So the very last pink triangle passed away in France in the past number of days. He was given the Legion of Honor also last April by Nicolas Sarkozy. So I suppose a sad day in some senses.
A sad day and the end of an era as
Absolutely.
well. Thanks very much for being with us. That was Media Watch France with James Creedon. Do stay tuned to France 24 Live from Paris continues. Up next is Web News, our roundup of the top internet content of the day.